I want to talk about the Syrian refugee issue and crisis, really. And I know that's really close to your heart, Johnnie. You've worked very hard to bring Syrian refugees over to North America.
Yeah, in fact, earlier this week at the Greater East Toronto Prayer Breakfast, I spoke on the refugee crisis. And when I arrived here Monday morning, 5 a.m. in the morning, I landed and got in the studio here, and I saw the headline of the Globe and Mail that the first 25,000 refugees apparently now, have arrived in Canada. I mean, this is the crisis of our times. Different countries are handling it in different ways. Yeah. Canada's taking lots of people. The United States isn't taking anyone. I mean, it is a very, very serious question for politics, culture, and for the church.
So update us on what you've been doing to kind of help this situation.
Well, the first thing I've been doing is trying to get people out safely and legally so that they don't leave illegally and unsafely. And I've been paying particular attention to religious minorities because they face a disproportionate threat. And so I've done a lot to help the Muslim community. I'm also working with Yazidis, Christians, Mandaeans, Kakais, other religious minorities. And unfortunately, it's kind of not going well. Most countries aren't willing to take these people. I mean, it's really quite sad.
And so when you say helping, where do you pull them out of? Like, where do you take them to?
Well, we evacuated 150 from Iraq into Slovakia over Christmas. We have a number of similar evacuations lining up. And then, we've been working on lots and lots of fronts. I've spoken at a lot of large churches all across the world, especially in the United States, talking about the refugee crisis. Because in the United States, how you deal with refugees butts right up against politics. Because the evangelical community in the United States tends to be on the right politically, and this issue kind of pushes them a little in the opposite direction. And so I've been helping the church work through that, how you can be compassionate towards refugees while simultaneously having a cognizance of security and the role of government. But these are complex issues, perhaps the most complex of our modern era, in a crisis that is the largest refugee crisis since World War II. And I got to tell you, this country we're sitting in today has had a lot more experience and done really, really well working through it. Though, of course, there are things I would do differently. I mean, if I were prime minister.
But when we talk about complexity, we hear about these 2 hospitals that were attacked in Syria now. I mean, hospitals have always kind of been seen as a safe place, a place of refuge. And knowing that these hospitals were deliberately attacked, I mean, would probably cause more people to flee Syria. When you're talking to people and you're trying to urge Americans to open their arms and accept more refugees, are they conscious of the big world, and are they conscious of all of these dangerous circumstances that Syrians are going through? I
mean, this is part of the problem, Maggie. We have never had a situation this complex. I mean, like you're saying, it used to be you wouldn't attack hospitals, you wouldn't attack members of the press, right? Nearly all the hospitals in Syria have been bombed. The people that ISIS was first beheading, were all members of the press. Like, you can walk around with a press word on your chest, and it doesn't help you these days. In fact, it hurts you. And so the game is changing. In fact, in the Middle East, we don't know where Russia begins, Iran begins, the United States begins, ISIS begins, the Assad regime begins. It is a time, above all, for the church to do what the church does best. 2 things. We pray and we serve. None of us have the power to solve these complex problems, but what we can do is we can pray and we can serve. And that's our hot topic.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Johnnie. It was great to chat about that.